Hello, and welcome to Phil Brown's Computer Networking Lab. You're watching the instructional video called Exchange Server Overview. We are currently on the Exchange server called Exchange 1. Let's open up the Exchange Admin Center. I'll type up the name of this server, which is Exchange 1, then /ECP for Exchange Control Panel. We can access the Exchange Admin Center through the Internet Explorer or any other web browser. When we look in the left pane, we see that there are a number of categories that we can go to. Also on the top part, we can see subcategories of the main category that we chose. Here under recipients, we can configure the mailboxes. We can either use the existing user from the Active Directory users in computers, or we can create a new one. Here are some of the users that I can give mailboxes to. Let me give James T. Kirk his own mailbox. Okay, this isn't showing me all the options. Let me expand it so I can see the Save button. There, that's better. Now James T. Kirk is listed as having a mailbox on the philbrown.com email server. We can also add groups to our email list. Here are some of the choices that we have. And here we have resources. For example, a room that we might want to maintain as being occupied or vacant. And we could click on contacts to add email addresses that are outside our organization. Here we'll give Khan his own email address. It looks like I'm going to have to expand this again in order to see the Save button. Okay, now Khan is listed as the outside contact from regala.com. And here we can access the shared recipients. And also we have one to help in migration. Now let's look at the major category of permissions. Here we have the admin roles, which are roles that are used to control the Exchange environment. We can create a totally new role, or we can use one of the already existing roles. Here we can see what attributes we want to add to this role. Now let's take a look at the user's role. This is the default role, and we can see which features are checked. Let's take a look at the Outlook web app policies. Here we can see the default values of what features are available to users when using Outlook web app. And over here we have the compliance manager. The compliance manager is mainly to make sure that rules are upheld by the Exchange server. We want to make sure that the policies that need to be enforced are enforced. In the in-place discovery and hold, we can save emails under certain conditions. And under auditing, we can look for emails that fit certain criteria. Under data loss prevention, we already have a preset listing of rules in which information will be saved. Here we can see a list of countries have laws on their books that will require certain features about emails to be observed. The Exchange administrator can just simply go to one of the rules and activate it and know that his company is in compliance with that particular rule. Here I've added a specific rule, and the email server will make sure that rule is followed. And here we have the retention policy, which defines how long an email will be kept before it's deleted. And we also have the retention tags. The journal rules is for when we want to save emails going to or from specific people. A reason for this would be if management wanted to keep an eye out for what type of information a particular employee might be accepting or giving out. It requires a special CAL license in order to use this feature. Now we'll take a look at the organization. Under sharing, this gives us the ability to create trust with other outside email partners. And with apps, this gives Outlook the ability to have special programs installed on it, similar to the same way that apps work on smartphones. And with the address list, we can work with the address book and make changes to it. We can even create our own address books. And under the protection category, we're able to use anti-malware programs to help prevent malware from being transferred using our email system. Now let's take a look at the mail flow category. Here we have rules. We can see that the rules are populated in this area. If you remember, we actually inserted that earlier inside of the compliance manager. Under the data loss prevention subcategory, let me go ahead and delete this out of here. Okay, now we can see that the rule is no longer being applied. And here we have the delivery reports. This can give us information about how emails are being transferred through our email servers. And accepted domains gives us a list of all the domains that we have control over for using email. Let me create another one for philipbrown.local. Okay, I'm going to save this domain. Now we can see we have a philipbrown.com and a philipbrown.local. Notice that the checkbox for the default domain is not checked in this particular box. That's because philipbrown.com is the default email address that the Exchange server will use. Now let's take a look at the email address policies. There's the default policy right here. Let's create a new default email policy. Here we'll choose philipbrown.local. We can decide what type of template we want our company to follow as far as email addresses are concerned for philipbrown.local. Okay, I'll save it. Now let's take a look at the receive connector. We have several of them listed by default. Now click on the send connector. Notice there's no connectors listed. I'm going to create a connector for the internet so that our email server can connect to servers outside of our organization. I don't want it to run through a smart host, but rather to use MX records to find out where the email servers are. I'll put a star, which is a wildcard or asterisk, to say that I want this connector to be used to anything that does not have a specific connector already set up for it. There goes our internet connector, and it's up and running. Now let's click on the mobile command. Here we can make a number of changes with the configuration of the active sync. Here we can see that 2 people are listed. And now we'll look at the mobile device mailbox policies. This is the default policy for mobile devices. We can require the mobile device to use a password and other restrictions if we wanted to. Here we have public folders. Before we create any public folders, we must configure the public folder mailbox. I'll call this public folder mailbox enterprise, and I'll attach it to the only mailbox database that I have. Okay, I set up the public folder mailbox. Now I'm going to set up the public folder inside of the mailbox. I'll call this one Science, and I'll expand the window so I can get to the Save button. Now I'm going to create a public folder within the public folder. I'll simply call it Box Folder. Now we have 2 public folders spanning 2 levels. Let's take a look at the unified messaging. Here we have a list of unified messaging dial plans. This will allow us to configure what our internal telephone extensions look like. And now we'll take a look at the Unified Messaging IP Gateway. This is used to work in conjunction with the dialing plan. Now let's scroll down to servers. Here we have a list of our Exchange servers. The only one that is available is Exchange Server 1. And we can take a look at the databases on those servers. And we have our database availability group here. Let's take a look at the configurations that we can set on it. And over here we have our Exchange Server virtual directories. And finally, the last one we have is hybrid, which is a combination of both having an Exchange server infrastructure inside of your organization and connecting it also with Microsoft Office 365. The main idea being able to have a very reliable email setup. In this video, we took a look at the main features of the Exchange Admin Center. In the next videos, we will see how to use the Exchange Admin Center to send and receive emails. I hope this video has been informative, and I thank you for viewing.